Hello, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about nutrition for infants. First thing you need to know is that infants grow rapidly through the first few years of their lives, and we need to match that high growth rate with a high nutrient intake. In fact, babies have about twice the energy requirement per pound of body weight as that of adults. Let's take a look at some of the options for feeding infants. There's cow's milk, infant formula, and breast milk. What I hope you can see from this diagram here is that cow's milk has a different composition than breast milk and infant formula. You can see that it's much higher in protein and it's much lower in carbohydrates. Cow's milk also lacks protective maternal antibodies and growth factors, and some of the composition is not as nutrient rich as breast milk and infant formula. So for this reason, breastfeeding is the ideal way to feed babies, followed by infant formula. Breastfeeding provides many advantages. It has the appropriate composition for babies that provides all of the hormones that they need for physiological and cognitive development. It protects against a variety of diseases, in part because of the maternal antibodies, and it's been shown that breastfeeding can protect against some chronic diseases later in life. Breastfeeding also lowers risks for food allergies and sudden infant death syndrome, and it does support a healthy weight. For the mother, there are some advantages also. It helps uterine contraction, helps delay regular ovulation, and it can conserve iron stores in the mother and protect from diabetes. Also, it requires quite a lot of energy expenditure, which can contribute to weight loss in the mother. And finally, breastfeeding saves in time, it saves in money, and it's environmentally friendly. Now, having said that, introducing cow's milk can be done after 1 year of age. It's important to keep in mind that cow's milk is a poor source of iron, and that supplementing the child's diet with iron-rich foods is a good idea. Children of 1 to 2 years of age can gradually transition from breast milk to cow's milk. And the current recommendation is that cow's milk be reduced fat cow's milk. Now, with breastfeeding, there are increased maternal energy requirements. It's necessary for a mother to take in almost 500 extra kilocalories per day to support breastfeeding, as well as to hydrate sufficiently to be able to support the manufacture of the breast milk. It's also important to have high carbohydrate intake and fiber intake. Now, with breastfeeding, it's important to avoid certain practices. Alcohol consumption should be avoided because alcohol can easily enter breast milk and the infant. Medicinal drugs, care needs to be taken with these, and you should talk to your doctor about any pharmaceuticals that you're taking. Illicit drugs do pose a great risk to babies, as does smoking and environmental contaminants, particularly lead, mercury, heavy metals are dangerous and should be avoided by breastfeeding mothers. Okay, so infants, what are their nutrient requirements? Well, infants have higher nutrient requirements from very many of the micronutrients. Here I've listed them: vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, B, the B group vitamins, vitamin C, riboflavin, calcium, and iodine are all particularly required by infants. And you can see here in green, there is the 20-year-old male requirement. per pound of body weight. But you can see that these other nutrients are required here in purple at far greater levels by a 5-month-old infant. So these are ones that you will need to focus on providing for your infant. Introducing solid food should begin between 4 and 6 months. Depending on the child, you'll know when your child is ready for solid foods. It's best to test for food allergies by introducing single food ingredients one at a time, making sure that none of these foods make your child ill. And recent data does suggest that it's okay to introduce children to nuts, and that there is no elevated risk of them developing nut allergies from early introduction to nuts. But be cautious when introducing these foods. Baby foods, the same principles apply that we would use for good adult nutrition. That is, you want your infant to be provided with adequate calories, a variety of different types of foods, moderation in the sense that providing too much of one type of food can be bad. Balancing your kilocalories so that your infant is not getting too many kilocalories of nutrient-dense foods. And as for adults, it's important to watch out for excess sugars and excess fats in the baby foods, and to reduce these as much as possible. Okay, here are the current infant development recommended foods. 4 months of age, the appropriate foods are breastfeeding or infant formula. 4 to 6 months of age, beginning iron fortified cereals alongside of breast milk formula. Water is recommended, and pureed single ingredient foods should be introduced, including meats, legumes, vegetables, and fruits. 6 to 8 months of age, textured fruits and vegetables and unsweetened juices could be introduced, although I'd sort of hold back on these as much as possible. 8 to 10 months, breads and cereals from the table, yogurts, some soft cooked vegetables and fruits, taking care that your child is not at risk of choking hazards, and starting to introduce some of the adult foods, finally cut up things like meats and fish and cheese, eggs, that sort of thing. And 10 to 12 months, keep adding variety. As much as you can get into your infant's diet, that's great. Always being mindful of the possibility that your child may have certain allergies, and avoiding foods that they are allergic to, but gradually increasing portion sizes with the size of your child and their energy demands. Now, unfortunately, in the United States, hunger and malnutrition occur more often than people realize. In fact, nearly 12% of households are food insecure, and nearly 5% of households have very low food insecurity. This means that they are not sure when their next meal is coming. That means in the United States, 41 million people live in food insecure households. Approximately 10 million adults live in households with very low food security, and 6.5 million children live in food insecure households. This is a national tragedy. Unfortunately, malnourished and undernourished children are vulnerable to lead toxicity. They tend to get lower grades at school. They are much more likely to suffer from iron deficiency and low intakes of micronutrients, which increases health risks later in life and puts a great burden on the healthcare industry. Basically, I believe food is access to food is a basic human right, and that we need to address this to make sure that no children are going hungry in the United States. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to infants and nutrition. This is the references and disclaimer page. The reference textbook that most of these videos follow is Understanding Nutrition by the authors Rolfs and Whitney. I use the 15th edition by Cengage Publishing. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Nutrition, Fast and Fun. There's lots of great videos that you'll find there. And finally, there's a medical disclaimer. You should read the medical disclaimer to make sure you fully understand your rights and responsibilities. Thank you and have a great day.